Getcha moving Monday!
I'm Ryan Kuhlman of the Broward and the Miami-Dade Real Estate Investors Associations, also known as the BREIA MC, coming to you from the BREIA and MD-REIA headquarters.
Welcome, boys and girls, to another episode of Getcha Moving Monday. So I hope everybody was productive this weekend. Hope you guys got out there, drove for dollars, maybe knocked on some doors, started a new marketing campaign, better yet, got a property in contract. And speaking of getting properties in contract, it's been a very hot topic lately. We've been coming up against properties that are already in a bankruptcy, and our students and other investors in our network are asking us, hey, can we put these properties in contract if they are in bankruptcy? So that's what today's episode is dedicated to. Can we get a property in contract? Can I buy a property if it's in a bankruptcy? And who better yet to help me with this is going to be my friend, the whiteboard. Much better. Now, as you may or may not know, there are basically two types of bankruptcies that we deal with in this market. And both bankruptcies are strategies of how to avoid foreclosure. Most of the time, homeowners don't really actually need to file bankruptcies, but they are usually at a last resort. Right before a sale date, they file for the bankruptcy so that they can avoid the foreclosure sale on their property. So just to review very quickly, and I do want to put my disclaimer out there, I am not a bankruptcy attorney. All of the opinions and things are of my opinions, my experience and knowledge, but you should actually really talk to a bankruptcy attorney when you're dealing with a homeowner. Anytime we're dealing with a homeowner, I still will speak with their bankruptcy attorney to make sure that we have the details on their bankruptcy. Okay. So the two types of bankruptcies in the state of Florida that we deal with in our pre-foreclosure market are Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. And the difference between the two is Chapter 7, they're liquidating all assets, meaning they're not keeping the home. This is generally for houses that do not have any equity. So the homeowner just wants to get rid of it, get out of foreclosure, walk on and move on with their life. Chapter 13 is where they're going to work out a payment plan. According to their income and expenses, they're going to submit a payment plan to see if the trustee will approve them keeping the home. And the workout payment plan is usually for 3 to 5 years. Now, this is how it works. When a homeowner is facing a foreclosure, in general, their foreclosure defense attorneys, if they've done postponement after postponement of the foreclosure sale while they're trying to do a loan modification and keep the home, the attorney at some point in time will advise them, well, there's nothing else that I can do. You might as well file for a bankruptcy in order to stop the foreclosure sale, which filing a bankruptcy, literally you can file the day before or even the morning of, and it will stop the foreclosure in its tracks. However, the courts are not stupid. Within 14 days, if the homeowner does not, or the homeowner's bankruptcy attorney does not follow through with the petition and the filing for bankruptcy, they will cancel it and the courts will set a new foreclosure sale date. And it's usually about 30 days after that, depending upon the judge and depending upon the situation. So something else that I wanted to talk about is the 341 meeting of the creditors. This generally happens 21 to 50 days after they've filed for their bankruptcy. And this is the time that the creditors, the people they owed money, will be able to petition and say, this is how much this person owes me, and then the trustee can start to determine about selling the assets and paying off the creditors. Obviously, it's going to be at discounts. However, in this pre-foreclosure market, which you have to understand, most of the homeowners that we see that file for Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, they don't have a lot of other debts and assets. They basically just have their home. Remember, they filed for the bankruptcy because they thought it was going to just stop the foreclosure process and either just give them more time to just live in the house and kind of turn a blind eye to everything, hear no evil, see no evil type of philosophy, or they want to do Chapter 13 because they're still desperately trying to keep their home. So the reality is that you don't really have to worry about all of these other details depending upon the bankruptcy. And again, I always advise to speak to the bankruptcy attorney. Whoever is representing that homeowner for that bankruptcy, have the homeowner give you authorization to contact the bankruptcy attorney so that you can work in conjunction with them and your efforts will help the homeowner in the long run. So, but generally we don't need this, but within 21 to 50 days of filing for the bankruptcy is when the 341 meeting of the creditors happens. And you most likely will need to get to the homeowner and will need to get to the bankruptcy attorney and have your plan together before this 341 meeting of the creditors, because once they start that ball in motion, it's going to be difficult to stop any type of sale that the trustee is going to be heading on the property in order to pay the creditors back. Which brings me to the next topic, is filing a motion to sell. And that's what the bankruptcy attorney will be doing on the homeowner's behalf, and actually on your behalf as the investor. When you file a motion to sell to the trustee, then the trustee will take a look at the property and say, okay, there's only X amount of equity left in this property. This is the contract that's on the property. It's a cash investor. He'll look at the price, and hopefully you'll get an approval for the motion to sell. Now remember, it depends on if the property has equity or no equity. If it doesn't have equity, then you're going to need to have a communication with the trustee in one form or another that you want to do a short sale on the property. And the trustee, it's his job to basically liquidate the assets. And if somebody else is going to come in and negotiate with the bank and do a short sale on the property, a lot of times trustees have told us that that's fine. They will approve that, because that way it takes it off their hands and they don't have to worry about it. But again, it depends upon the situation. It depends upon what type of bankruptcy that they filed. If the property has equity, just be very careful on what you're offering on the property and how much money is left over and what you promised to the homeowner, because the trustee may say, yeah, sure, I'll approve that, but this homeowner has $20,000 in credit cards that I need to pay off. So the $30,000 in equity, they're going to want $20,000 of that. So just be very aware that there's a big difference between the properties that have equity and don't have equity, and you'll just have to put a plan together accordingly. Now, one last point that I want to make are the exemptions. Now, there are different exemptions in different states. The exemptions are what the trustee will allow the person, the homeowner that's filing the bankruptcy, to retain. There might be a certain amount of money that they need in order for their living expenses or to relocate. In Florida, they're very, very generous with the exemptions, because there's no limit to the homestead exemption. Meaning no matter how much equity is in the home, it is exempt. So again, you want to make sure that you're verifying everything with the bankruptcy attorney, and that they're verifying with the trustee as well when they file the motion to sell. But most likely in the state of Florida, if there's equity, that's going to be exempted. So that way you can still help the homeowner out with some relocation expenses at the end of the day. Listen, I know it was a lot of information, so let me summarize for you. So the bottom line is that in bankruptcies, whether it's a Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, it is possible to still purchase the property. It doesn't mean as investors that we've gotten there too late. It just means that we need to gather all the information. We need to understand what stage of the bankruptcy that they're in before we make any promises to the homeowner and before we get all set to purchase the property. And now you know what time it is. Announcements. No, guys, you got to come a little closer. Okay, that's much better. All right, so next week, guys, you know what time it is. It's the first week of the month. That is the BREIA and MDREIA meetings, April the 3rd and April the 4th. Now listen, these are going to be great meetings because this is our 3rd annual city fair. Now, we didn't get to do the city fair last year. Technically, this would be the 4th annual. Last year, Hurricane Irma got in our way. But we've had city fairs the last few years, and this is our 3rd annual. If you haven't been to a city fair, let me create the picture for you. When you come to the networking portion of the meeting, you're going to have cities like from Boca to Hollandale, Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, Margate. The building officials and code enforcement officials will be there so you can actually speak to them face to face, get their business cards, so the next time you've got one of those nasty violations or illegal additions or something on your property, you're going to actually have some people that you'll be able to go and talk to, that you can say, hey, I met you at that BREIA meeting, I've got this issue with this property. We're just trying to bring the building officials and investors in our network a little bit closer to have a little bit more of a symbiotic relationship. And these are the people, guys, that can make or break your deals a lot of time, especially when you're trying to get permit situations, if you have code violations. I mean, we've negotiated liens from $800,000, actually $857,000 down to $6,000. Carl Sheely, one of our students, one of our members, BREIA members, longest time BREIA members of Pierre's Remodeling Construction, was able to negotiate down to $6,000 because of the fact that we meet these people face to face. So this is what you're going to get out of those meetings. Then, after the networking portion, in the main meeting, The city officials, we also have the commissioner for Broward County. She's the ex-mayor, Barbara Sharif, good friend of ours, very sharp lady. And so there's going to be some good information about some new redevelopment, what's going on with maybe some CRA departments, and then we're going to have a Q&A afterwards. So this is going to be a great meeting with the networking, and then you're going to be able to really ask questions and hear about some new upcoming programs that really affect us as investors and create some opportunities for us as well. So on April the 3rd at the Miami Pullman Hotel, we will have the Miami-Dade building officials and code enforcement from around Miami-Dade, and on Wednesday, April the 4th, at the Signature Grand, we will have the Broward County city officials and code enforcement there as well, so you definitely want to make one of those meetings. All right, boys and girls, well, that's all the time that we have for today's episode. Thanks for joining me again on Get You Moving Mondays. I hope today I got you moving. You guys always get me moving. Thanks for the continued support. Make sure that you follow us on YouTube if you're not doing so already. Also, give us a like on our Facebook pages for the Broward Real Estate and the Miami-Dade Real Estate Investors Association. Remember, we are the Miami-Dade Real Estate Investors Association, not the Dade Real Estate Investors Association. Big difference. Anyways, thanks again for joining me. I hope to see you guys at our upcoming meetings next week, one of the City Fair meetings for either Miami-Dade or Broward. And as I say, before and in between the time that we see each other next, remember, every day is a new opportunity for your success.